God, starting new campaigns can be so hard. If you're burying your face in your hands, unsure of how to start your next D&D game, struggling with how to come up with a massive plot, I want you to think differently for a minute, because I'm going to tell you the secret to starting your next campaign without endless hours of prep, and that is by taking a look at Hollywood Westerns.
I'm your huckleberry.
Because I think starting a new game can be so much easier as long as you forget for a minute that D&D is a fantasy game. Because I think it's actually a cowboy western wearing a silly fantasy outfit, like Butch Cassidy in Elfier cosplay. Welcome to Mystic Arts, where I'm once again telling you to kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. My name is Daði, I'm a professional writer and director, and I've been DMing for over 10 years. As nerds, we love arguing about genre almost as much as we love arguing about Star Wars. So, naturally, there's this famous argument that states that Star Wars isn't sci-fi, it's fantasy, which is exactly the sort of argument that immediately gets people to sit up and counter-argue there's aliens and spaceships and laser guns and all kinds of science-y fiction. It's science fiction. It certainly has all the set dressing of sci-fi, yeah. But if you think about the structure of the storytelling at work, it's a different picture. There's a Dark Lord, a Chosen One, a Princess, and a Wizard. Luke Skywalker has more in common as a character with Merlin than he does with Captain Kirk or any Arthur C. Clarke character. I'd argue the same is true about D&D. Yeah, it's got elves, swords, magic powers, and Dark Lords. But what does the story structure feature? A group of outsider gunslingers, called adventurers, roll into a town on the frontier. The locals don't trust them, but the adventurers accept bounties from the sheriff, taking, quests from a quest board and collecting those bounties on the outlaws that terrorize the town. These outsiders are then drawn into local conflicts with the bandits, the corrupt officials, and unjust land grabs. Just like adventurers, the gunslingers find themselves stuck eventually at a fork in the road, leave to preserve their sanity, or roll up their sleeves and help where they can. I'm not telling you to run an actual Western, by the way. You don't need to go put on a cowboy hat and pull out revolvers and do all that. I mean, I do that sometimes, but I've got my own 5e rules for firearms and I mix genres all the time. But the point of the video is just to invite you to look critically at the story structure you're using at the gaming table. So, is this useless conjecture? No, and here's why. Because loads of DMs find themselves prepping entire adventure structures a la Lord of the Rings. Epic quests about saving the world that start with humble beginnings and sprawl into heroic epics. And many would-be DMs find themselves preparing that kind of story for ages instead of just starting. And when you tell those DMs to just start, they often don't know where to begin. But I want a heroic fantasy! Fair. I mean, I agree. I've made videos on that topic and I'll tie them into this advice if you stick around. But for now, let's focus on the task at hand. Because I think epic fantasy belongs in the higher levels of D&D. But at the early levels, it's not about that. They are about that sort of low level running around in the muck doing smaller adventurer kind of stuff. And studying Westerns just a little bit will make our lives easier. With that out of the way, let's make some adventure hooks with a Western story structure in mind. I've already mentioned one, Bounties. It already has plenty of parallels between Westerns and D&D, and it's so vital for early level play. The player characters come to the frontier town at the start of the adventure, and there they see a quest board, and on it there's 3 to 7 quests. You don't have to do an insane amount of work on this. You literally just prepare the quest hooks, and then all that requires is opening the monster manual, flipping to the Monsters by Challenge Rating section, and picking a handful of monsters off of the CR 1821 list, and making a hook out of it. It's so easy. Watch this. Troglodytes, huh? Let's read about them. Troglodytes prefer to ambush prey and change their scale color to blend in with the environments. They often climb along cavern walls or emerge from deep fissures to take their prey by surprise. Okay, there's a rumor about a cave of troglodytes just outside of town, ambushing caravanners heading into town. The sheriff pays 10 gold per troglodyte killed. What's next? Satyr. What are they about? They indulge in sprees of merrymaking, eating, drinking, performing, fighting, and frolicking. Okay, so there's a rumor about satyrs partying long into the night in a barn by the old O'Malley farmstead. The O'Malleys aren't getting any sleep, and they really would like to. They'll pay 50 gold for evicting the satyrs. Evicting the satyrs might be about talking to them, finding a suitable party location for them. I don't know. We'll figure it out when the players go to that location. What's next? Ogre. Granted, it's a bit outside the CR range, but let's say there's an ogre wandering the hills and it's killing the local livestock. It's said to have a golden necklace worth a pretty sum. And when the players find the ogre and kill it, there might be hints of a tribe of hobgoblins nearby who are trying to recruit the ogre. Maybe a letter that they can't read, because they're dumb. Let's do one more. Axebeak. Let's find him in the animal appendix. Oh, it's not in here. It's at the front. There's a pack of these guys, let's say as many as there are player characters. They're not bothering anyone, but maybe the players could learn to tame them. That's it. Thinly veiled allegories to a pack of wild mustangs, local thugs, and wild threats. And that's without mentioning something as obvious as a roving gang of bugbear thugs who are mugging people, or something even more explicitly westerny. You don't prep all of these encounters beyond what I've just said. You leave it until the players head there, or get there, because you just prep one session at a time. But when the players get there, you could turn them into single encounters, or maybe 5-room dungeons, and that'll be that. You could do the grand campaign planning later, when everyone's hooked. But does that mean there's no overarching campaign, no overarching story? No, of course not. A classic Western formula is the town in turmoil. You know the kind. There's a corrupt town official, maybe a millionaire or an owner of a mine that's exploiting the townsfolk. That one sounds good, let's use that. This kind of quest isn't on the quest board. It's just mentioned by literally everyone involved. You know, the ogre's letter from the hobgoblin mentions the human coal mining tyrant. One of the Axebeaks is sick from coal fumes or something. The troglodytes have loads of wealth from the coal miners they've been killing and looting. But some of that is tearful letters from people wanting to escape the mines. The O'Malley family is thankful for the satyrs being gone, but they're more nervous about the kids that are no longer working the farms because they're off in the coal mines digging to pay off the family's debts. Now there's something brewing in the town. Do the players go fix it? There's no explicit loot, but they should be invested at that point. It's sort of gross and disgusting, all that exploitation, isn't it? Which brings us to another classic Western trope. The revenge story. What if one of the O'Malley kids, Brian, a 19-year-old furious about the treatment of his family, swears revenge on the coal baron who runs the mine? Will the players help Brian, or let him get revenge alone, where he will no doubtedly die? That's up to them. And with the arrival of the revenge story, you've suddenly stumbled into a plotline, right? I don't know what happens. We shouldn't prepare it. The story is how the players choose to deal with that scenario. As Justin Alexander writes, don't prep plots, prep situations. Brian the farmer is going to get revenge and will no doubt die fighting the coal baron. That's a situation. Don't prep what happens next. Ask the players, ideally at the end of a session, and then you run the plot they're clearly gearing up for. When they decide they're doing it, you call it a night, go home, and prep the coal mines as a dungeon crawl, complete with a boss at the end, the coal baron. I've made a coal baron stat block, but it's like CR24, so you might have to nerf it if you wanted to use it in a starter adventure. Or maybe the coal baron isn't there, but his lieutenant is, the coal lieutenant. And finding the coal baron could be the basis of a longer adventure, or not. This kind of adventure gets really easy to run. You just keep spinning your yarn as you go along, creating new situations all tied to the central theme, exploited town, and the outsider gunslingers are the only ones who can help. It's a string of modular content you weave to your heart's desire, kind of like how West Marches works. But you can do it with your table of players. Like, you don't need 50 players like I had when I ran West Marches. To be honest, you only need like 2 friends to play with. Just scale down the combat encounters. And I haven't mentioned my favorite type of cowboy adventure yet, the town under siege. Like full-on Magnificent Seven. The hobgoblins attack the town, and it's time for the players to organize the defense of the town. They lay traps, create choke points, arm the locals, protect Brian the farmer, and blow stuff up. Think of how cool the battle map is going to be. You draw a huge town center, or get one online, and then just let the players organize the crap out of it. Let them plan the defense, and then test their plan by having a crazy band of hobgoblins attack them. Sounds awesome. And if you want to go full Western, you can. You could play another system like Tales from Elsewhere and their game Clockworld, which is in the final stretches of its Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign at the moment. It's a weird West setting, full of robots, ghosts, undead, and horrible monstrosities and more. It's also got this great mechanic for shooting guns, like called shots aiming at the bulk, head, arms, whatever. It's brilliant, and the designer Peter from Tales from Elsewhere deserves all the love. Click the link below, and if you support the Kickstarter, you're supporting this channel directly. But like I've said, there are a million ways to play D&D. This specific way I'm talking about, with quest boards and all in the same frontier town, isn't the only way to go about it. You can do it a million ways, like giving the players a really OP magic item and making all kinds of bad guy factions fight over getting it. In my video on the subject, it was my own version of the Book of Vile Darkness, but in the Lord of the Rings, it was the One Ring. You can play a campaign starting with a big bad evil guy and work your way to the front of the adventure. I made a video with a big worm called Jormungandr about just that. But you could also do that after doing this. Run the first 5 levels as a Western-style adventure, and then retrofit the Babik onto your campaign if the players want to play more. That way, you head into Tier 2 of play with a plan. But you don't need the plan to start playing at level 1. And of course, you can run epic stories at level 1, like I talked about in this video when I was talking about standalone adventures and using them to build out your world by letting low-level players define parts of your campaign setting. I've made a playlist of videos on campaign structure and linked it in the card thingy up here. So I guess the point of this video is just to say that you shouldn't overcomplicate things. You can start your D&D adventure this week with no plan. Just a small quest board full of plot hooks you haven't developed. You can use the ones I listed earlier. Run a series of barely connected 5-room dungeons, and then later, you figure out how to factor them into the main campaign by adding a grander structure onto the adventure after you've figured out whether or not your players want to play more. Don't let campaign planning stop you from playing. Just go experiment with structure. Go get inspired by Westerns, or by fantasy, or sci-fi, or the HBO series Chernobyl. Go be inspired and start running without hesitation. You can always figure out what the adventure is really about between sessions as you plot out more of the endgame. Now go run something simple and start that adventure instead of waiting on it forever. And that's where we'll pick it up next time. Thanks so much for watching this video. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend. Caffeine! And if you want to support us directly, consider joining our Patreon. It's got magic items, stat blocks, adventures, and bonus videos. If you're feeling especially generous, you might like the video, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. Until next time, keep studying the mystic arts.